Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. Dr. Revis will be joining us in just a minute or two. She was actually Zooming with a student, and she hasn't finished yet, so she'll be on in just a minute. I hope everybody had a great weekend and survived the storm, and you didn't have any major problems. I know those of you in South Carolina, some of you were a little harder hit than those of us in North Carolina. But anyway, considering what the people in Florida have been going through, we were blessed. So, that's the way I look at it. I didn't mind getting up on Saturday morning and cleaning up the debris because it could have been much worse. So, very, very thankful for that. Hope that you've been safe as well. There's Dr. Revis. But this is week 7, and next week we will be halfway through the semester. And again, we told you that, after you get to a certain point that, that we just basically move on. But I mean, it's just going by so fast. I mean, to know that we are halfway through your first semester, but you're still here. And that's that says a lot that you're still here, that you've for the most part listened to us, and that's the reason that you are here. You've persevered, and you're to be commended for that. I know Dr. Revis will have some shout outs that she would like to make. Many of you have actually gotten to the point that I have cleared everything in my class. You've put task 1 through 5 together. I have not seen, I've given you permission to go ahead and put it in to turn it in, but some of you have not done it yet. So, I would recommend that you go ahead and do that. But I have to shout out to 2 people that in my class that has already successfully completed, and that's Jennifer Heatley and Carl Likes, and both of them finished with a perfect score. So congratulations. Dr. Revis, go ahead and do your shout out. I know that you're biting at the bits, and one of them, she's about to. I can see it all over her face.
Well, I have had 5 get through the Turnitin process and with acceptable, and I've told you to go ahead and submit. Derek has submitted, was a little leery about submitting, but it wasn't that hard, was it, Derek? And for evaluation, and his came back as a perfect score as well. So congratulations. Guys, you've worked hard.
You got another one, Dr. Revis.
I did get another one. I haven't looked.
Yeah, go ahead. And Alicia. Yes.
All right. Way to go. I haven't looked in test stream.
Yeah, well, that was just, I think it was later on this afternoon that score came through. But congratulations.
Guys, be sure when you get your scores back, remember there's one last step. We really haven't talked about it, but you have to take a screenshot of your score and then upload it on the side tab, left-hand tab. There's a place for your final screenshot. And that lets me know that you've been scored and everything's going well. And I expect a lot of 4s. Don't get wigged out if you get a 3.5, 3.7, or a 3. You can't do it over, but that's the baseline, and that's okay. Just shoot for a 4 the next time. I know we all want to shoot for a 4 actually, but anyway, you guys have done hard work, some very, very strong work, and I expect good things when I get these scores back.
Right, and that's kind of where we are. I do want to. No, and I know some of you, I told you before, when you get my little emails or whatever, you probably call me names and stuff like that, but that's okay. I'm a big boy. I can get over it, but I have to do that. And Dr. Revis, she has to do that. We have to remind you, you know, that we're on a tight schedule, and that's our job. So, you know, just know that I'm going to do it. Just like if you do what you have to do on your job, I'm doing what I have to do, and we are on our job, but it's to help you. So just know it's not to be anything else, but to help you try to be successful in what you're doing. At this point, I went back and I did an audit this morning, and I've let everybody that owes me something, you know, you got it. So it's your responsibility to take care of it. I have to ask, we've gone over it. Is there anybody that, you know, at this point, really everything should be cleared with task 1 through 5 of the app. So it should be cleared as of Sunday night. If it is not cleared, then you need to make it clear with Dr. Revis and me, you know, why it's not and what you intend to do to get it done. Because as of this week, the AAPSL should become, for the most part, history, and we move on. That brings us to this point. Does anybody need for us to go back over combining task 1 through 5 into one document? Is there anybody that needs clarification on that? Now's the time to ask. Jill raised her hand. Okay, Jill?
I just need clarification about where to submit it. I submitted it. I submitted my task 1 through 5, but I hadn't heard anything back yet. That was
Okay.
2 days ago.
No, I would have already, and I'll get with you because
That's what I thought.
I've responded back to everybody. So there's nothing in there. Somehow it's hidden from you, but I had told you to move on, but I'll go back and look at that after class, okay? But you,
Okay, I put it in the app. So task 1 through 5 combined for instructor review.
and I've given you feedback on that. I know for a fact I have.
Oh,
but
you did? Okay.
Yeah, but that's okay. I'll go back and look at that and see what the problem is. Sometimes messages hide from you. So, but you're cleared and good to go.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Does anybody else, you know that? Well, let me just quickly say, you've got to go back and you've got to take each of your 5 tasks and put them together with your cover page with your name here, beginning with your school profile, then task 1, task 2, task 3, task 4, task 5. You remove all of the references from each of the 5 and you combine them alphabetically after task 5. Then after that, you combine all of your appendices, and that comes after that. And the one thing that I have had to send back, Dr. Revis, is just a reminder. Each appendix goes on a page by itself. And remember, like if it says Appendix A is centered in that page. And some have put it to the left of that page, and I've had to send it back, but it goes to the center of that page. So just remember that, and 1 per page. And then you submit it for Dr. Revis and or me to review. And what we're going to do is, if everything is clear, we're going to tell you to submit to the Turnitin process. We'll give you a 100 on that review, tell you to submit to the Turnitin process. And once you do that, we will go in there and we will check your Turnitin score. And you won't know what that score is unless there is a problem with something. And normally at this stage, there's no problems as a normal rule. And if everything is clear, we're going to tell you to submit to task stream for evaluation. You will wait for your score to get back. And when you get your score back, as Dr. Revis said, you take a screenshot of that score. You go back into Blackboard, you give us that screenshot. We'll come back and we'll give you a message of congratulations. you know, and you'll be through with the AAPSL. That's it. You'll be through with it. So are there any questions at all about the final AAPSL process? Any questions at all? Okay. If you think of it before class is over with or at the end, then you know, you can ask them then. What I'd like to do now is to share my screen, and let me pull this up. Course overview. It's slow. Okay. Your assignment, I want us to look at your assignment for this week, and that is your case study 1. If you will look on your course overview page to the left, you will find let me come back up. You will find a section that says case study materials. Does everybody see that? Okay, you click on that. Okay. And this is your case study assignment. You will do this with your Zoom team. And just as you did with the AAPSL task 1 and 2 assignment, you will need to decide who is going to be the Zoom master for this activity, who's going to take responsibility for leading your team with the case study. Now, this is case study 1. These are your directions. This tells you exactly, you click on that. This is for each of you need to click on that, and you need to understand these are my responsibilities with case study 1. And again, it's slow. There it is. You are to read the case study on your own, and you're going to write a 1 paragraph response for each of the questions at the end. Now, that 1 paragraph response is not for Dr. Revis, it's not for me, it's for you. Those are going to be the responses that you use when you meet with your Zoom team and you collaboratively engage in a scholarly discussion about what this case study is all about. Whoever the Zoom master is, they're going to schedule, send out the link, and record the case study Zoom session, just like you did with the AAPSL task 1 and 2 assignment. During the case study Zoom session, each team member is going to share their written responses. And you know, don't make it exciting. Don't just sit there and read, talk about it. And the group's going to engage in this scholarly discussion of the responses led by the Zoom master. Now, remember, we talked about this, and Dr. Revis really emphasized this with the AAPSL task 1 and 2. You need to come prepared as the Zoom leader with an agenda. You need to you know, set the norms for what the meeting is going to be like. You need to keep it actively going, keep everybody actively engaged. If anybody starts chasing rabbits, you need to get them off the rabbit trail and get them back on the right trail, you know, to keep it involved and keep them engaged. Remember, group consensus is desirable, but it's not required of the scholarly discussion. You know, you can agree to disagree on some things, you know, but if you do, then just do it in a professional way and be able to, you know, to be able to back it up. Now, this is an opportunity for you in your scholarly discussion, and Dr. Revis and I, we're going to look for this. You have done research. You did research throughout the development of the AAPSL. So you've already been introduced to several great people out there that have done research, established research. They're credible. And so whenever you're engaged in your scholarly discussion, Dr. Revison, I need to hear that. We need to hear you say that, when somebody says something, you need to say, well, according to the four, and you need to back it, you need to know what you're talking about, or in your personal research, you should be able to recall some of this and begin talking and speaking that language. In addition to just not your research, in your readings that you've been doing, in your in the, you could say, and I'm looking for according to Ovens, Hughes, and Norris, when I was reading in this book, or Pilch and Quinn, or Aldridge and Goldman, whatever. These are your textbooks. Use the language and refer back to some of the text reading that you've done as well there. Everybody will get the same Zoom link. Your narrative work will be different because your narrative work will be independent. Each one of you are going to be responsible for writing a minimum of a 1-page, 2-part reflective summary. Now you see that's in number 4. Look at it. It's a minimum of a 1-page, 2-part reflective summary of both the case study and the case study Zoom session. What is that going to be, Dr. Stebbin? The case study part of the reflective summary will include an overview of the relevant points of the case. Now, we don't want you to regurgitate the case. We can read it, and we've read it. Everybody else has read it. These are going to be, the key things that you need to point out about that case. And then you're going to do a reflective summary, and the reflective summary are going to be the takeaways from the discussion that you've had with your Zoom team. Now, when you get involved in, with your takeaways, make sure that, again, don't chase rabbits with that. We're not always looking necessarily for your opinion. And if you give your opinion, back it up with what the research says, what school law says, what policy dictates. This is an opportunity for you to reflect back on your 603 work. I would think that, that in your discussion, you should make references to those things that you learned about school law in 603. Dr. Revis, anything else that I would have missed on that?
Well, and guys, when you approach this case study, I want you to think about what you have learned in the AAPSL.
Right.
I am looking for you to either cite research from your readings, like Dr. Stedman said, or cite the process that we have used in the AAPSL. Remember, in the AAPSL, after you formed your PLC, you did a data dive, you analyzed the most pressing need, then you did some research on that, then you developed an action plan. I would want you to be able to approach this case study through that lens. Okay.
And Dr. Revis, I would say that, if you when you get on there now, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. However, with this scholarly discussion in 15 minutes, if you're through, then I would say you haven't done this case study justice. You haven't done what needs to be done effectively in this case study. We're really going to look and see how much you've grown and how much you can contribute personally, to this. And again, as Dr. Revis said, it needs to be totally tied to the work that you've done with the AAPSL. This is very relevant to the work you've done with the AAPSL. And remember, while many of you are classroom teachers, and it's okay to inject some things about teachers, you are presenting this from the perspective of a school administrator, not as a teacher. So we are, I don't need to hear this from, quote, a teacher's viewpoint. While you can refer to that, you're speaking as an administrator, okay? So we're going to look for that as well. This is the case study. You click on this, and this will give you the case study, and it will have the questions that you are responsible for preparing in advance of your Zoom meeting at the end of the case study. And it's the principal, see, as the instructional leader, aligned with evidence 1, the AAPSL. And I'm not even going to go into it because we don't need to do that. You're responsible for that. And then the questions that you're to reflect on and to answer are at the end. What do you think of the way James handled his particular situation, considering his limited background? What more could be done to help the reading scores in this school? What additional resources could James utilize to help the school improve? And what could he be sacrificing, if anything, by placing an extraordinary emphasis only on the reading program? It's an interesting read. I'm looking forward to hearing that. So that's your, okay, then once you've done all that and you get ready to submit your assignment, this is where you will submit your assignment. Case study scenario 1, written reflection and Zoom link. You click on that. And this is where your minimum of 1-page narrative work, 2-part, where you are doing the reflection on the case study itself with key points, and then your reflection on the case study experience with lessons learned. This is where you will save it as a Word document, you will attach it, and this is also where you have to, the Zoom leader will submit to you your Zoom link, and this is where you will place your Zoom link as well. So there's 2 things you've got to do there, your written reflection and the Zoom link. This is where you put it in for Dr. Revis and me to be able to grade it in Blackboard, okay? Are there any questions?
Again, I just want to emphasize that when I am listening to your Zoom team meeting, I want to hear researchers according to blah, 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 or I'm wanting to hear according to the process that we use in the AAPSL. This is what I think James should do. I want to hear that. Both of those things, hopefully.
Okay. Again, are there questions? Does everybody know what to do?
Dr. Stedman, is that due on Sunday?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I think you're right, Kelly. I think it's due next week. Hold just a second. Week 7, case study scenario 1. Okay, hold just a second. Week 7 responsibilities that must be completed this week. Work on a final draft. Okay, that's week 8. You get together this week and it's not due until next week. Thank you, Kelly, for but we're just introducing it this week. You've got this week and next week to get this done. It's due a week from this Sunday, no later than a week from this Sunday. Okay. but we knew we needed to get it introduced to you this week so that you could go ahead and make plans. And some of you are at a place that you can go ahead and, you can go ahead and do it. And that gives you a little bit of break, and we'll talk about that a little bit. That gives you a little bit of break, before we have to hit the AAPSL, hard and heavy, which is, we will start on that next week. We will introduce that next week. Next week's going to be another heavy week. Okay. But thank you for that clarification, Kelly. This week, and let me pull this up. Dr. Revis, let me go here. I think it's important that I pull this up. This is all this you can find this. Sandra, what is your question while I'm looking for this?
I just want a clarification on what is exactly due, and I haven't put my stuff in task stream yet.
Okay, this is what I'm
so
going to do.
I just needed due dates.
This is what I'm doing right here. Okay. Okay. This is week 7. This is where we are. Okay. You're going to work on those who have not. You're going to work on the final draft of the AAPSL to prepare for submission for evaluation. That's where we talked about combining it into task 1 to 5, sending it for our review. We tell you to send it to turn it in. Once it's cleared and turn it in, you will submit it for evaluation. Everybody should be cleared with the AAPSL completely by the end of this week, which means that all AAPSL work must be cleared in Blackboard. Okay. And then Dr. Revis is going to talk about this in just a few minutes. Task 5, remember you did the 12 competencies for the AAPSL, the 8 that you were required to do and the 4 that you chose to do. That's 12 of the 21. These same 12 competencies are going to be a part of your competency folio. Remember, you had to set up that folio with Dr. Lamb. Dr. Revis is going to go back over that tonight. These same 12 competencies have to be treated in a different way. And Dr. Revis is going to talk about that in just a few minutes. Those are what are going to be due this week. That's the assignment for this week. Those, if you are in Dr. Revis's class, those 12 competencies will go to me. If you are in my class, your 12 competencies go to Dr. Revis because they go to your clinical coaches. I am Dr. Revis's student's clinical coach, and Dr. Revis is my student's clinical coach. Okay, Dr. Revis is going to talk about that in just a minute. But then next week, I introduce the case study. Dr. Revis and I introduced the case study. This is what is going to be due. This is your final assignment for the AAPSL that is going to be due not this Sunday, but next Sunday. But you don't wait until the last minute to do that. And again, I encourage you, I would, if I were you, I would go ahead and do my work. You don't have peer reviews to do this week. Those things, I would go ahead and knock this out. And you probably, if I were you, I would be the Zoom master, and I would encourage my team to be ready by Thursday, and I would knock this out. Wouldn't you, Dr. Revis? I would get this behind me if I could. So
yes, I would too, because next week, guys, we've got a town hall meeting and we've got a Thursday class, a coaching session as well. So this Thursday coming up will be a great time or this week anytime, but this is going to be the week you would have time to do it.
But next week, we will have a town hall Monday night, and that is because we will be introducing evidence to the AAPSL. And what we plan to do then is all of the instructors, and Dr. Lamb will come on, we are going to take you through, we're going to give you an overview of the entire AAPSL. Task 1 to 4, there's only 4 tasks to the AAPSL. We're going to do that next Monday. And then we're going to introduce it, and then our coaching session on Thursday is going to be where we break it down for you. It will be introduced on Monday night, and then Dr. Lamb will have several other things that he'll want to talk about as well. And then on Thursday night is when we'll talk about it on Tuesday night during class and get you started, but we're going to really break it down, and we're going to give you the whole elephant on Thursday night, okay? So that you can see the big picture of what the AAPSL is all about. But Sandra, that's showing this week and next week, you know, what we've got to do and the due dates. And this is in your Blackboard, so you can, what I'm showing you here is it's under week 7 in Blackboard for you to copy and see yourself. Okay.
Thank you. I was actually trying to put the calendar October 16th, right? I was trying to, because I'm looking at the town hall and then on Monday the 10th.
Right.
So the assignment is actually due for the 16th.
The 16th, yes. And just
Okay.
remember, and then we're going to give you will be introduced to the AAPSL week 8, next week. But then week 9 is spring break. We will not be coming online. That gives you a whole week not to have to worry about Dr. Revis, me, but it doesn't mean that you do not work. You work on the AAPSL. You are to work on the AAPSL. You just won't be, we're giving you those days to not have to come to class, but use your time wisely, and we'll preach that again to you next week, okay? Okay, Dr. Revis, I'm going to turn it over to you at this time to begin. If you would, let's talk to them about those 12 competencies that have to become a part of their competency folio. I can't hear you.
Guys, can you see my screen?
We can.
Okay. All right. I wanted to direct your attention over here on your left-hand side to the MSA handbooks and competency folio. So when you click there, of course, those are your handbooks. And then this is a short video about how to set up your competency folio. I think this is even Dr. Lamb's video, but I can go over it with you. I haven't done it in a while. I don't mind going through it with you, and if you want me to, but this video is a really quick video. It's not difficult, but you have to set it up if you've not already done so.
Dr. Revis,
Okay.
I do this. Put in the chat box, if you've set it up, put your name in there and put either yes or no, that you've already set up your competency folio. Put it in the chat box now. Okay. Okay, they're still coming through.
If you haven't done that, go to this video.
Okay.
Um,
There are a few, Dr. Revis.
Okay, go to this video and just follow it. It's very simple, but you have to create it. Okay. Now, I
Yeah.
want to show
Hold just a
you.
second, Sarah. Yes, that is what you did with Dr. Lamb.
I want to show you a completed competency folio, what it looks like. This is a student who was with us a couple years ago. And, you know, you can choose your own format, what it looks like or whatever. She chose this one. But on the left-hand side are all 21 competencies. And where you will upload your internship log. You always upload your internship log in your competency folio until your last semester, and your coach will tell you what to do with it then. So let's click on the first one, communication. At the top of every one of your competencies, it will tell you there are 3 evidences that you have to submit during the course of your 3 semesters. This one says you need to submit an artifact or evidence from your AAPSL, your PSYOP, which you haven't done yet, you don't do that till the end, and open-ended. When it says open-ended, that means from your clinical work. Let me repeat that one more time. Open-ended equals clinical. Okay? So this is one of the required reflections that you had to do in task 6. And so what this person did is she talked about the analysis and action plan. She talked about the action plan here. Not really sure why, because with communication, you could talk about, your permission email to and from your principal to start your PLC. You could also pull a copy of your emails to your PLC, organizing the PLC as an artifact. Remember here, it's about artifacts. You do have to write a little narrative, but you have to upload artifacts. And that's her artifact. Okay, I can click on it. And this is actually what Dr. Stebbin and I do when we review it. And she is looking, and what she's doing here is, I guess, her notes or agenda from her first session.
Dr. Revis, just to make sure, again, tell them what an artifact is.
Artifact is something tangible. It could be a screenshot of an email. It could be an agenda for a meeting that you participated in. It could be some data graphs and data that your PLC disaggregated. It could be a screenshot of you sitting down with your PLC, but it has to relate to the competency, okay? And here is a reminder about the competency, what it is. And one of the things that you have to remember when you're doing your competency folio, we ran into that a little bit with a couple of you guys when I was reading task 6 about your reflections. Remember, your reflections and your competency folio have to show leadership outside of the classroom. So you can't talk about things that you do with your students or meetings that you have with your parents, unless if it's with a parent and you have an administrator there who is giving you feedback on how well you do in the parent conference, that would be a leadership artifact. But you are getting beyond leadership in the classroom, okay? So notice how she's labeled her artifact too. She's labeled it, I know real quickly, hey, this is the AAPSL, here's her artifact. And she did it fall 2017. It's been 5 years ago. Okay? That's how you should upload your artifacts. You should upload it with and label it, whatever you're pulling from. AAPSL. Open-ended means, and you're not going to do the open-ended for this because you're going to pull your AAPSL one, right? Now, the other thing I want you to notice in your 21 competencies, you have one down here, digital. You're not going to upload anything for digital. You will not upload anything under digital. You're going to weave your digital competencies in with your others. You see how this person has noted here? This would also serve as digital learning because what she did was some type of Google form, I think, and interview questions or whatever. So she demonstrated her digital learning competencies because of the tools that she used in this particular artifact. And so you have to, out beside it, you would need to put digital learning.
And
So-
Dr. Tavis, 18 of your 21 competencies involve digital learning.
You've used a lot of digital tools throughout this semester, both in your coursework and with your PLCs. All right, let's look at another one. Change management. Right here, it tells you what evidence artifacts you have. One come from your AAPSL again, your PSYOP, and one open-ended. Remember, that's by the end of the semester, your 3 semesters. You're only going to upload one from your AAPSL. Now, let me get off from here, and I want to show you. This is a competency folio that I built as an example in spring of 2021. It's just happened to be.
Dr. Rivers, can I stop you? Somebody asked a question. Will it bother you or hinder you?
No,
with
go
this?
ahead.
Can you show them, go out of that and show them? Some said they don't know how to find this. They did it, but they don't know where to go and find it now.
Right here, folio and web pages.
All of you, remember, have a task stream account now. You've got your own personal task stream account. You've got to go into task stream, and when you do, look where Dr. Revis is.
When you land on your task stream page, you're going to get your DRF folio, and that's where you upload your AAPSL. Okay. You have to go up here and click folio and web pages. And if you have created it, your folio is going to show up.
And you're only going to have one because that's you only have one thing to show up there.
Right. You're only going to have one. So let's look at communication. This one's blank. And I'm getting ready to upload one. I have asked Alicia if she would allow me to use her reflections from her task 6, and we're going to look at those. Now, she's written a lot of narrative about her particular communication. She's talking about obtaining approval, permission. Guys, you've already got that artifact, right? You put it in the AAPSL. So I use that. She talks about moving through she talks about going through task 2. She talks about moving through task 3 and so on and so forth. So don't upload more than one artifact per competency. Choose the one you want to do. Let's say we're going to do that. All you do is I'm going to copy her text. I'm going to go back here. Now I've got to look at my notes. I'm going to text and image section. I've got to pull this down. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to edit. And I just come down here. And I'm going to edit. But what I'm going to do first, I'm going to call it AAPSL Fall 2022. And I could even put that. I could even put that bold so that stands out for my reviewer. It's got where I pulled it from, and it's got the semester that I am in.
Dr. Revis, and you need to be reminded, Dr. Revis is showing you this, but you can create your own, your own style. We won't order with it, but you can be creative with how you want yours to look.
Right. And then I save and return. And then I can also, I'm going to edit section. If I wanted to upload an artifact, I would go, let's see, I don't go here. I'm sorry. If I want to upload an artifact, I got to look attachment sections. Well, hold on. I'm sorry. go to my attachment section right up here. 99% of the things you're going to attach, and as evidence is you're going to use this. And it says upload from my computer. And I didn't do one, but you would upload it and save and return. Okay?
And it would take you to your documents. Is what
Right.
it would do, your document file.
And then I'm going to name my document that I'm uploading just like I named this one. And remember that I'm going to also put in highlighted text that it's a digital competency or digital artifact if it satisfies a digital competency, which a lot of yours will. All right. So all of you have one artifact from your AAPSL that you've already done and you can upload. All right, let's look at change management. That is another one of your required one that you had to do. When I click on that, look, it tells me I need to have an AAPSL artifact. So I go back to my reflections. I scroll down here and I pick some text, or I can write my own text, and there you go. I don't know, right here, maybe this much. Okay. And I would copy and paste and put that in there. Questions thus far?
And remember, this is in that video that Dr. Lamb has created. This same information is in there where he has explained it step by step.
Let's look at conflict management. That was
Sarah-
not a
Sarah
requirement.
raised her hand, Dr. Revis.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so from the writing that we turned in from task 5, we wouldn't copy the whole paragraph, just a portion.
You could, but you don't have to.
Okay,
Copy the portion that explains the artifact you're going to upload.
And Sarah, Dr. Revis is taking you back there, and that makes it easier, but you don't even have to use the language from that. There may be something else that you think of that applies to that, and it may not have been in the task 5 work that you did. But you can go back to task 5 and pull stuff if you want to. It can be new stuff other than stuff that you've already written for those 12 competencies.
Okay. Let's look at emotional intelligence. Well, this was one of your choice ones, if it was one of your choice ones, then you can't upload anything from the AAPSL. You can't upload anything from the CAP. Here, if that's one you chose, you're going to have to use something from your clinical. Okay.
And that's
Your
what open-ended means. It's something that you have done. An example could be if you've done a presentation is open-ended. You know, leading your PLC is very open-ended. That's an example of something.
The description can be just as brief as I demonstrated conflict management during the operation of my PLC as members were at odds about choosing my most pressing need. And maybe there's some kind of matrix that you guys use. I know you did it, and you used a matrix in task, let's see, that would be task 3, wasn't it? Where you looked at those online programs and you did your matrix and came up with the different attributes of each one of those programs. Remember that? You know, you could talk about that. It just needs to at least describe the artifact. If your narrative doesn't describe your artifact, I'll send it back.
Right. They must match.
Okay. So make sure that the narrative and the artifact match your competency, and that you're showing leadership. And if you will always stay with the artifacts coming out of the AAPSL or you're open-ended, you're going to have leadership. You're going to show that leadership. Derek?
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just have a question. So when we're doing our 12 competencies, we have to focus on, we have to do those competencies that went into the AAPSL in our task. What,
Task
5?
5, yes.
Mhm.
5. Okay, so we do those 8, and then we have to do the 4 additionals that we chose. So the competency folio has to match what went into our task 5.
Right, Derek. And the reason being, you've got to do all 21 anyway, so it makes it easier to go ahead and do the 12 that you've already been working with the AAPSL, and then the other 9 will come after you get through with the APTEL.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And then
Now,
Jessica asked a question. She said, my computer was, anyway, she said, can an artifact overlap and be used for 2 competencies? Dr. Revis, would you like to address that?
yes, but no more than 2. Okay. You cannot use the same artifact more than twice in your folio, in your 3 semesters. That's why I said at the beginning, out of the AAPSL, you've got lots of artifacts for communication, but just use 1 because you may need the other ones later on. All right.
And remember that what you're creating now is going to be, Dr. Revis and I are going to see it, we're going to approve it, but this is what is going officially to DPI as a part of your certification process. DPI gets this folio. So everything that you do at the end of this program, what you're doing now, you're building, this is one of the major things that they look at when it goes to DPI. So, you've got to build it strong to begin with. Sandra, you had another question.
Yes, so, is it going to be reviewed before it's submitted? I mean, when we put this in, to the task screen,
You submitted
We're
it
putting-
there, and if it's right, we say yes. If it's wrong, we send it back to you and make you do it right.
okay, so we don't upload papers, we type it into, or we take our text from something we've written, like she showed us, and we put it in the text and image section.
Yes.
Right. But don't forget, you've got to have an artifact.
Okay, that's the part I'm getting a little mixed up with. So where do we put our artifact?
You put it right here to attachment.
Attachments.
Yeah.
Do we do a separate entry to describe the artifacts, similar to the way we did figures and appendices?
Well, yes. The only entry you put in is one that describes the artifact.
Okay, so in text and image, okay, let's say I do technology and I put my information in the text section,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm describing what I am going to attach. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And it does not have to be a long drawn out something, just a couple paragraphs, a couple sentences, correct?
Yes. In fact, the more brief and to the point, the better.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Now, a lot of you did time management. And so that's one you can upload your AAPSL. If it says AAPSL, guys, upload it from your AAPSL. All right. Okay, Michelle.
Okay, so all of the competencies have to have a an artifact of some sort.
Yes.
I'm just curious, like something like sensitivity. What's an example of an artifact of a matter you were sensitive with, or like sorry.
Okay, again, go back with the example that we've given you, Anara Henderson's. It's got all 21 in there, and sensitivity would be in there. And
Okay.
it shows where she has done it 3 different times. Because she would have had to done sensitivity for each of the 3 semesters she was in the program. So she would have done that, and she would have had 3 different examples, artifacts for sensitivity in there. So that's why we put her whole folio in there, so that you would be able to go back and see examples of things. And once you see those examples, Michelle, it prompts you to think of some things that you probably have done that you can't think about right now.
Right. It's not the thinking about it. It's the proof, I guess, of
An
how-
artifact.
Right.
Right. That's more
And
of the,
I'll tell you this, Michelle, and all of you, the hardest artifacts to get are the ones from your clinical work. And let me tell you why. You get to doing and forget to show proof or get proof. Okay. So those are the ones that I think are the hardest to get.
I think so too. Michelle,
Because you got the ones from your AAPSL, but like
Right.
this one. All right. What kind of artifact could you show where you've dealt with with faculty members or teachers who have been under emotional or stressful situations or in conflict? What kind of artifact could you show? That's hard, isn't it? That's hard.
and one of the things that, and let me use this. Right now we're dealing a lot with social and emotional type things. Now there's so much out there on social and that's sensitivity, as you're looking at diversity, equity, and inclusion. If you were looking at, it could be that an agenda and a video that you shared with the faculty or with an individual. That would be, that's an artifact.
Or it could be, let's say the principal, you were in a conference with the principal and the teacher, and you helped offer some solutions for the teacher who was demonstrating some stressful situations, or demonstrating emotional situations herself or himself. And let's just say that, of course, you can't take a picture of that. But what you could do is get the principal just to write down a brief 2 or 3 sentences. Michelle sat in and contributed to a meeting where a teacher was expressing her stress, how stressed she was over da 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 da.
okay, I guess that part helps to know that it could be something as simple as
Yes.
just the principal documenting it. Because I was thinking of a situation where, it was an interaction with a parent. Of course, I wouldn't say, "Hey, could you write something up about this?"
Would you write me a summary?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, it would need to be a third party.
And
who
let's say,
could
for
verify that.
instance, that you were a part of a meeting with the assistant principal, a disciplinary issue. Well, you can't put the child's name in there. There's usually an infraction sheet or something, a form that they've got to fill out. You can delete the child's name or any reference to the child, but a picture of the actual referral showing, the process that was followed, that can be used. That's acceptable. But you delete, you put an anonymity in there.
But what is not acceptable is you writing a little narrative about it.
Right.
Okay. It has to be something from a third party or an artifact that's, that's a natural artifact of the meeting or whatever you're talking about.
And it could be something simple as a picture that has been taken showing that you were a part of something.
Could it
Somebody
be
taking
just
a
like
picture.
sorry, I'm sorry. Could it be something as simple as like a follow-up email from the principal saying, thank you for how you handled this, or,
Absolutely.
okay,
Yes.
okay.
And what
Here's your
y'all,
Thank you,
pitfall.
thank you.
yeah, and what y'all will find once you get into this, the first semester, they're not going to be as sophisticated as this will grow. They'll be, we won't go, but they'll be more simplistic the first time. But when you complete semester 2, we would expect you to take it up to the next level. And by the end of the program, we do expect your artifacts to be more sophisticated, but you will have grown to the point that you'll know how to make that happen. Okay.
All right,
Kristen?
let me tell you, let me tell you the pitfalls. Number one.
Hold Kristen, let Dr. Rivers finish then.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kristen. Number one, submitting an artifact about something in your classroom. Showing leadership in your classroom is not where we are at. Number two, submitting an artifact that has nothing to do with your description or the competency.
I'm going.
Okay. Kristen, what was your question?
I just want to make sure mine's covered, but I was facilitating an RTI meeting with the classroom teacher, our interventionist, and the mother and grandmother. If my interventionist wrote about my facilitating, would that be okay? Would that be enough?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Or even an agenda of the meeting
Okay.
with student names
Marked out.
redacted.
Right. Because I have to submit minutes to that anyway. So I just wanted
Yeah,
to make
yeah.
sure that
There
that
you
was,
go.
Yeah, that's good.
thank you.
I have a question. Well, I'm going to be, I think it's going to be the October 28th or something, in October. I'm going to facilitate a unpacking the standards with the literacy coach and our principal. And they have me down on the agenda to facilitate. So, and it says that in the email, so I should be able to use that, right?
That's open-ended too. That is an open-ended thing, Tori.
Okay,
You're presenting.
okay,
You could have the email, you could have the agenda, a copy of the agenda with your
Okay.
name on it.
but it
Yeah,
does
that's-
fall up under it because I am facilitating that.
Yes.
Okay,
And definitely that's going to count in part of your clinical work as well.
okay.
All right.
Okay, 2 more people have raised their hands. Kristen and
Oh,
Derek.
sorry. I'm good. I'm good. I'm sorry. I didn't realize my hand was still up.
Okay, Derek.
So I was looking through the folio and I just want to make sure, it said like one of the things for sensitivity was attending an IEP meeting or something like that. A 504 meeting would fall
Yes.
right through. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
I was pretty sure. I just want to double
Yes.
check.
Yes.
I've been going to a lot of those as the
Yes.
administration. So, okay, cool.
Okay. Kim?
So when I look at the conflict management competency, I did not write about that for task 5, but it says on there that one of the evidence has to come from the AAPSL. So I guess I'm going back to what Derek's asked a minute ago about using the 12 competencies that we wrote about in task 5. So I guess I'm still a little bit confused about.
Okay.
So
They don't
when we-
align. They don't align perfectly. Okay. I wish they did. I wish the 12 that we required of you in the AAPSL were actually the 12 required in the competency. It's not. If you want to do conflict management, and you're going to have to at some point put something in there for the AAPSL, you can do that. Okay.
So when we look at this screen that you have up, are we actually going to add 3 artifacts, or can it be one from any of those?
It can be one from any of those. You will have 3 by the end of your last semester, 1 each semester. Okay?
Okay, okay.
So if it says AAPSL, I would always upload an AAPSL.
So even though I did not write about conflict management in my task 5, I am still able to add
Exactly.
something. Okay,
Exactly.
okay, thank you.
Exactly.
And
Thank
if
you.
you didn't do conflict management this time, you're going to do it at the end of the APTEL. So you've got
Yeah.
to do it this semester anyway.
Right.
So that's why we're saying focus on the 12 you've already done, because by the end of the semester, you will have done all 21 anyway. She's just showing you examples right now.
Mhm.
Just because she's clicked on one, she's just going over some. That doesn't mean that you necessarily would have done it with the 12 that you've already done. You will only address the 12 you've already done. And then
Okay,
and the 9 that you haven't done will come at the end of the semester.
okay, but I will still be required to add something from the APSL to conflict management competency. Is that
That
correct?
is correct. That is
Yes.
correct.
Okay,
And even though if you haven't done it and you're in the APTEL, you will just go back to the APSL and pull it
Hmm.
whenever that time comes. You're going to find yourself as you progress through this program. When you get to 603, you will still be going back and pulling information from your first semester
Yes.
as you're going to the next level with these artifacts. You will go all over the map throughout this program with
okay,
everything
thank you.
you've done.
So
Okay.
for example, judgment was one of the required ones you had to reflect upon, right? So you're going to have to pull something from your clinical work for that one. Okay?
Okay, Evelyn.
Hi. So I think someone said earlier about being in an IEP meeting, and I think I kind of missed what they said. So if we went to an IEP meeting, we could use that as one of the competencies, or we had to facilitate the IEP meeting.
You
Well-
can't just be an observer in there because as a teacher, you're an observer in IEP meetings. You must be in there for a reason other than a classroom teacher. Right, Dr. Revis?
Yes. And let's say you get invited to an IEP meeting for one of your students
Mhm.
and you're there as a teacher. Okay. You couldn't count that because that's what you do as a teacher. But let's say that you ask your special needs teacher if you could come and observe an IEP meeting as an observer, and what you're doing is watching the facilitation of it. And I think this was Derek that was asking that. He was doing sensitivity. Does that
Okay,
make sense?
if they ask me to come as an observer, but it is for one of my students, can I use it, or it got to be a student I don't know?
It doesn't, it should not be any student that you are representing as a classroom teacher.
So a student I don't know. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And the other one, so say like today, I had to facilitate an RTI meeting for, it's our students. So, but I am now the team lead for 8th grade. So I had to facilitate the meeting for the RTI for the kids who are, going through MTSS and all that stuff. Can I use that, or I can't use it?
I would think if you
Go
were a
ahead.
facilitator, yeah.
Yes, I'm the facilitator and now the team lead for that grade.
But Evelyn, what you're going to have to be careful about is for your whole 3 semesters, you can't use that but twice. Okay.
As the RTI?
Right.
Meaning-
You can't use that you're facilitating RTI more than twice during your 3 semesters for an artifact.
Okay.
Just
Does
remember,
that make sense?
at the end of this program, you will have 63, you will have done it 21, all 21 3 times. So that's 63 different, that's 63 artifacts that you will have done over the course of the program. And there needs to be a large diversity of artifacts and experiences that you're showing. Remember, this is what's going to DPI to help with certifying you as an administrator. So they're going to, if they see the same thing over and over again, that's going to put red flags up there, which we're not going to let that happen anyway.
Okay.
Kristen, did you have another question?
I was just gonna give a suggestion. I talked to my principals today about joining some IEP meetings for this purpose. And they had me email the special education resource teacher to put me on the agenda for two reasons: for the parents to know that I would be there, but also then we can print that as one of my artifacts.
Exactly.
So just thought somebody else might like to hear that.
Yes, thank you, Kristen.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Guys, it's not as hard as we're making this. I think once you get into it and start seeing how things fit together, it's going to be easy. Honestly, I promise you, you should not have to be making up new artifacts for this. You should always pull them from what you're doing in your coursework, your AAPSL tasks for this one, or your clinical work. I got two more hands raised. I think, Kristen, you probably still have. Sandra, did you have your hand raised again?
Yes, I just had a quick question. I was listening to the IEP conversation. Prior years' work doesn't count, correct? So, I mean, because I've sat in and actually signed off on several IEP meetings. So
Yeah,
that's
correct.
It has to be during this semester.
okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions? Dr. Stedman, if we could stop recording when we're through, but leave the Zoom link up. Michelle has asked me to stay with her just a few minutes, and she's got a question to ask me.
Okay.
And I need to screen share with her.
Okay. Okay. Are there any other questions? Again, don't make this harder than what it needs to be. Okay, Sandra?
Yes, my last question, just so I don't overwork myself and get all in a tizzy, because sometimes I do that, especially when my workload at work is like it is right now. So this week, by what day upload to task screen?
By Sunday night at 12, by Sunday night at 9 o'clock.
Okay, and that's after you all look at the 1 through 5, right?
Yeah, that should be done too.
Right, so after you look at it, you give the thumbs up. The turn it in is the turn it in inside of our, because I haven't looked at the turn it in.
It's in
I mean, I've
Blackboard.
used it before. It's in Blackboard, okay. So we do it in the Blackboard, and then after we do that, we submit it to task stream.
And once you submit that to task stream, you get busy on this portfolio. Okay.
Okay, this one, we're talking about folios and web pages, right?
Correct. You got it.
Okay, but we do the case study first though, right?
That's next week.
Oh, that's next week, so I wait on that. Okay, cool. Okay, I got it.
Unless your Zoom team wants to meet this week.
Right.
We've already kind of texted and started that process, yes.
Okay. All
Thank
right,
you,
good deal.
Sarah.
Okay.
All right, Dr. Stedman.
Yeah, the 12 competencies are due this Sunday. Remember,
Wait, Dr. Stedman, I'm sorry. You said the 12 competencies were already turned.
Are that what Dr. Revis has just gone over? They are due for our review this Sunday evening by 9 o'clock. Remember,
That's task 5, right? No, it's something else. I'll watch the video over. I'll have to look at it again.
The competency folio, everything that Dr. Revis has just been going over.
The thing that's on the screen right now.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, okay.
Okay, Evelyn?
Never mind, you just answered it, because I thought,
Okay.
I was gonna ask whether it was gonna be in Blackboard or what Miss Dr. Revis had up, so that's where we need to go, and task screen upload by Sunday at 9.
Right, and
Correct.
remember, if you're in Dr. Revis's class, they go to me, and if you're in my class, they go to Dr. Revis. You request comments from the opposite.
And Evelyn, you got to look up here and click on the folio and web pages when you open up your account. Okay?
Okay,
And
So
if
we
you've
go-
created it, it should pop up.
okay. So we go in, there's one that's gonna say Revis and there's one that's gonna say Stedman.
No, it's going to have your name on it. If you've created it, you're going to look for yours.
Oh, Lord, okay then.
I'm a little, I'm got a little bit confused. 'Cause
Okay, wait a minute, because the one you had, okay, so the one you have up says Revis, that's something you made.
It is. It's one I made. Yes.
Okay, so when we open task screen, there's nothing that says folios and web pages?
Well, you have to create it first.
Okay,
Remember back here, if you've not done that, look at this
Okay.
video. Okay?
okay,
If you've not, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to play this.
no, okay, so I haven't made that yet, but once I do, then how do I get it to Mr.
Pop
Stedman?
up. Once you do, you're gonna name it, and you'll name it probably Alexander fall 2022. I would suggest that's what you put it in as a name. Then when
Who is
you open
Alexander?
Oh, that's me.
Tori,
Oh,
that's Tori's last name, I think,
Oh.
right, Tori?
It is, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So when you go to task stream, what's going to open up first is going to be your DRF folio, and it's going to have AAPSL and all that stuff down there. You have to
Okay.
click here to folio and web pages. And see, all these are the ones I've created over the years. All right. And I just picked that one for tonight. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Dr. Revis, so does it automatically link to you, or is there something we need to within task stream send it to you somehow?
No, when you finish working in it, you will click the ones you want to submit. So wait till you get them all done and then click them, and then a list of names will come up. So Kelly, you're gonna click my name and it
Okay.
comes to me. I get notified. Okay.
Okay, that's what I was asking. How do I get to
Evelyn-
Dr. Stedman?
Evelyn, you're gonna see my name up there, Evelyn, and you're gonna send them to me. And you only click on the 12 that you're working on. The other 9 that you're not gonna do right now, do not click on them, because I have to go through every one of them if you do, or Dr. Revis and I do. So only click on the 12 that are due for us on Sunday night. Okay?
Can you show us
Yes,
where
sir.
your name is going to be? Can you show us where your names will be?
We don't have see what you
Oh.
see in yours. So
Oh, okay.
but it will have them listed in there for you.
Okay.
You'll have a bunch of names.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you just remember you've got to send yours to Dr. Stedman.
Right.
Okay. All right. All right, guys, if we're done, Michelle, hang back just a second and we got to figure out what's going on with one of your artifacts here.
Let me see. Okay.